Here are the stories we're covering this week in the Category 5.tv newsroom. Raspberry Pi's new TV add-on is out, but there's a catch for users in Canada and the United States. Running a VMware server virtualization product, it's time to check for patches as a bug in the video system allows malicious code in VMs to leap out of their guest OS and execute code on the hosting server. 8 D-Link router variants are vulnerable to a complete ownage via a combination of security blunders, and only 2 are going to get patched. Hard Kernel has unveiled the Odroid H2, the first hacker board with an Intel Gemini Lake system on a chip. These stories are coming right up. Don't go anywhere.
This is the Category 5.tv newsroom, covering the week's top tech stories with a slight Linux bias.
Jeff Weston,
Yeah, man.
you're building a brand new, beautiful website,
What?
aren't you?
No. Am I?
Oh, you're a terrible actor.
What?
This is where acting comes into play.
Oh, I didn't know we were acting.
You're supposed to act.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
Yeah, I'm building a really cool website. Are you building a really cool website? Just because Jeff is confused doesn't mean you have to be. Visit cat5.tv/dreamhost to sign up for unlimited web hosting for your website with unlimited email accounts, MySQL databases, the latest version of PHP, WordPress, and more, and even a free domain name registration. It's less than $6 per month, so sign up today. cat5.tv/dreamhost.
I'm Sasha Rickman, and here are the top stories we're following this week. Raspberry Pi's new TV add-on is out, but there's a catch for users in Canada and the US. If you've got a Raspberry Pi, you can now attach a new Raspberry Pi TV add-on to the single board computer and then plug it into your home antenna to receive and decode digital TV streams. Users can then watch TV using a Raspberry Pi or set it up so that the Pi streams TV content to any computer or mobile device on the same network as the TV-equipped Raspberry Pi. The Raspberry Pi TV Hat has the same design as the Raspberry Zero, with the addition of an aerial adapter to plug into a TV antenna. The TV Hat costs just $20 and can be attached to any Raspberry Pi board with a 40-pin GPIO, even the Pi Zero. There's a catch for Raspberry Pi owners in Canada and the US, though, because of the Hat's built-in DVB-T2 tuner. While the format has been widely deployed in Europe, Russia, and the Asia Pacific, it doesn't work here. Due to this issue and for compliance reasons, at the moment the TV Hat is only being offered in Europe. However, the Raspberry Pi Foundation says that compliance work is underway to open other DVB-T2 regions.
I'm so disappointed that it's not available here.
Oh, I know. It's like, here is this amazing thing that exists, but not for you.
Yeah, sorry. Not allowed to use it.
Sorry, North American market, you're out of luck.
The first thing I did is, as soon as I heard the announcement that this was on the market, is I started looking for a United States or Canada vendor that had it, and nobody has it. So I actually messaged you and I said, "Can you find it in the States?"
Yes.
And you know, have you? And it was you that
I searched
figured this out.
and then I went online and it said,
"By the way, Robbie,
yeah,
doesn't work here."
It's weird. It's a big market. Like you think that they would have a way, but I guess it's compliance. What is it?
We have a different standard over here for television.
So the signal is different.
Yeah, it's totally
so it just
different.
wouldn't work here.
ATSC, I believe, is what we have. Nothing. If you look at the map on one of the sites, it shows blue all over Europe and Asia and everything, and we're a totally different color over here.
I didn't because TV is TV to me, right? You just turn it on and it works. I know that their plugs are different, but that has nothing to do with it, does it? No.
Not necessarily, but this is digital aerial broadcast. So you think about like the local news broadcasts and things like that. They actually they still have a tower and they still broadcast it, and they broadcast digitally now. So the quality is actually quite a lot better than we remember with bush cable back in the day.
Right.
But you've got to be able to have a tuner to receive it, which our TVs don't include tuners anymore.
No,
I don't think I've seen one that has a tuner anymore. So so you can't just plug an antenna into it and start watching TV.
Right. Oh, Raspberry Pi. So close and yet so far away.
All of my TV broadcasts are, like all of my TV watching happens on Netflix, internet. It's all internet based.
Right.
So whether it be Netflix or Prime or Plex Media Server, things like that.
Yeah.
It's all on the network.
Yes.
And thinking of Plex Media Server, it would have been a great thing for me to be able to get my hands on one of these and set it up so that it works with Plex Pi, for example. Right? So the Debian distro for Raspberry Pi that lets people use Plex Media Server, and we've looked at it on the show.
Yeah.
But I can't do that because I can't get one here, and even if I did, it wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work.
So will it kind of stymie the growth of the software development?
Well, I would think.
The American and Canadian users can't get them.
Yeah, in my mind, that's like half the market. Like half is Europe, and then half is us, right? 50% of us can't use it.
Right.
We're on the wrong side of the ocean today.
Turns out.
And BP9 just mentioned in the chat room is US TV was NTSC, and Europe is PAL. So that's why DVDs are incompatible.
I didn't know that either. Learning a lot of things now about the differences. Wow.
Very disappointing. If you have one, though, if you're in Europe and you have the Pi Hat for the TV broadcasting, we'd love to hear how it works. And love to hear more. I'm just disappointed that I can't develop for it because we can't get it or use it here in Canada.
When you let us know how it works, please do not gloat too much.
Yeah, try not to. Try not to.
Running a VMware server virtualization product, it's time to check for patches as a bug in the video system allows malicious code in VMs to leap out of their guest OS and execute code on the hosting server. Get busy, VMware admins and users. The virtualization virtuoso has patched a programming blunder in ESXi, Workstation Pro, and Player, and Fusion Pro products that can be exploited by malicious code to jump from guest OS to host machine. The bug has been designated CVE 2018-6974. The out-of-bounds read is present in the product's SVGA video device emulation, and if exploited, allows software within a guest operating system to execute code on the host machine. In other words, a hypervisor guest escape. That's enough of a privilege escalation to get the bug rated critical across most of the affected products. The vulnerable versions include ESXi 6.0, 6.5, and 6.7, Workstation 14, and Fusion 10. If you run one of these products, be sure to patch to secure the exploit.
Always hearing about all the various exploits, but this is a bad thing to have happen if you've got a virtualization hypervisor, which a lot of people do now. So
that is when people can... Okay, tell me what that is before I guess what it is.
A hypervisor? So with virtualization technology, you can have one computer running all kinds of computers inside of it, basically. That's like
So it's... Okay, so it's like a... Okay.
So back in the day, so if we wanted to have a file server, it was a physical box on the rack.
Right.
And then we wanted to have a web server. Another physical box on the rack.
Okay.
And then we want to have a whatever. And you're just always adding more hardware, and it's using a lot of electricity. It's noisy. It generates heat, so you've got to cool the room. It costs a lot of money to operate. And you've got the more hardware you have, the more chances of crash. Like if you have 10 systems, you've got 1 in 10 could crash versus one system. Maybe there's less chance of having it fail. So virtualization lets you have many different servers in one physical unit.
Okay, so then this exploit is actually a doozy.
A big doozy.
Yeah.
I know a lot of places use VMware. I think the ESXi's are already patched. You just got to do it.
You've got to run the patch, though.
I know.
If you don't run the patch, then you're exploitable.
It exists.
And I think who this really could impact, Bill, it probably doesn't impact me. It probably doesn't impact you in such a way that my virtualization hypervisor, I'm using it for my own things. I have my own servers and things like that, and they're all internal. Now, if it was a web server and somebody were able to exploit that web server and then break out of the virtual appliance and break into the host operating system, now you've got a severe issue. Or if you're renting out, say you're a web host and you're sharing server capacity by giving virtual servers to your customers.
Right.
And one of those customers had malicious purposes and broke out of the virtual appliance, and now they've got access to the host which presumably means they have access to other virtual appliances and all kinds of private stuff that they're not meant to have access to.
Right, and it just snowballs from there.
Good. Yeah. So just probably patch your servers. What's up?
I'm seeing that Sasha's mic died during her
My mic
story.
died.
Did
It
it?
came back, but
Oh.
it dropped out for about 15, 20 seconds.
Oh, did it really? Oh, okay. Well, there we have it. Check your levels, just to be sure. I have 2 bars. How many do you have?
3.
You got 3. So
I didn't step on
let
it.
us know in Discord if we have any more issues. Yeah, and you've got the right thing. Cool. You're number 1?
Yes.
Just making sure. Live TV. There we go. All right. Let us know in Discord, and we apologize for any technical issues that we experienced tonight. All right.
8 D-Link router variants are vulnerable to complete ownage via a combination of security blunders, and only 2 are going to get patched. Despite insisting patches would be released 4 months from now, D-Link hasn't addressed the issue reported in May of this year. So the security researcher who found them is releasing them to the public. That spells danger for D-Link device users. For some of the affected devices, there will not be patches. The vulnerable units are all in D-Link's DWR range. The DWR 116, 140, 512, 640, 712, 912, 921, and DWR 111. Most of these will be left unpatched because D-Link has said that they're end of life. Only DWR 116 and 111 would be fixed. The full compromise of these devices arises from a cascade of several vulnerabilities. They require access to the device's web-based settings panel, either on the local network or from the internet, depending on the configuration. Data that can be accessed by the attacker include password files, and guess what? Yes, there are passwords stored in plain text. The administrative password can be found in clear text form in a temporary file. The exploit also allows an attacker the ability to log into the router to inject shell commands into the router's HTTP web server. Keep an eye out for patches if they ever turn up. You may want to turn to a new firmware or even replace your router if one doesn't exist. Once again, we've got yet another exploit. We're seeing this with routers.
But passwords in plain text.
Right.
So
Why?
if a compromising attack is able to break into this router, they can get access to those passwords, have administrator access. Then, and I always say it with a router, what's the first thing that someone can do? They can open up port 3389 and have remote desktop access to any of the computers on your network. They can see every computer on your network because it's presumably got the DHCP table in the router, which is where all your IP addresses are. So now we can compromise everything.
Are most people, or are many people, running end-of-life D-Link routers?
Yeah.
Or would you, so...
A lot of people, if it works, they ignore it. They put it in and forget about it.
Right.
And the firmware doesn't get updated if the manufacturer doesn't update the firmware.
Right.
And they're only considering 2 of these routers to even be worth paying attention to, right? So...
Well, some of them are older, so they're not going to patch them anymore.
Yeah.
You can't buy them new, so...
So I wonder if looking at something like DDWRT or Tomato firmware might be an option. So
that's an option.
Yeah, you can look at third-party open source firmwares. So like my router here runs DDWRT, so I can continually keep up to date with the latest firmware because the router itself, the firmware that came with it, is no longer supported. So I don't run that firmware.
Right.
But the problem is, how many home users, like just generic home users, I mean like non-techie, maybe not our viewers, but just a regular home user, how many of us know how to flash a firmware or even update our router?
Yeah.
So that's where it comes down to, hey, if yours is old and not supported, maybe you might want to just replace it.
I would think so.
Unless
Like
you've
it
got
wouldn't
someone
even
who
be
can-
on your radar. Like I don't think it. Like I wouldn't think about something like this.
No, and you think of
Right?
the hierarchy of your network. So when I'm on my home Wi-Fi and I'm on my home network accessing things, I feel safe because I'm in my network.
Yeah.
Now take the device that connects that network to the internet and remove all security from it and make it so that this person who you don't know who they are has access to my personal space as far as networking goes. All my files, my printers, my packets, everything.
So if you have one, call your niece or your nephew or whoever set up your network at home and update it.
Exactly.
Good idea. Good idea.
Hard Kernel has unveiled the Odroid H2, the first hacker board with an Intel Gemini Lake system on a chip. The Ubuntu 18.10 driven single board computer will ship with a 2 SATA 3.0 ports, 2 gigabit Ethernet ports, HDMI, and DisplayPort, 4 USB ports. And if that's not impressive enough for you, it has an M.2 slot for an NVMe storage. When the Odroid H2 goes on sale in November at a price that will be higher than $100, Hard Kernel will join a small group of vendors that have launched a community-backed x86-based SBC. The Odroid project had hoped to be launching its second or third gen x86 board by now. In 2015, the project started working on an Odroid H SBC. However, there were problems with RAM sourcing and the overall cost of manufacturing was too high. In 2016, the company built an Odroid H1 based on an Intel Braswell Celeron N3160. The board was successfully used in a dedicated project, but Hard Kernel decided not to release it publicly due to RAM shortages and concerns that the processor was no longer competitive. They considered an AMD Ryzen 5 2500U, but it was too expensive. Then Intel announced Gemini Lake at the end of last year, which seemed to be just right. Hard Kernel says it was slower than Ryzen, but much faster than Intel Apollo Lake, and the price was reasonable. One argument for x86 hacker boards is that Linux drivers tend to work more reliable than on a typical ARM board. The downsides are high price and high power consumption. However, the Odroid project is claiming a reasonable 14-watt consumption under CPU stress and a 4-watt idle. Earlier this year, Hard Kernel had another false start with an Odroid N1 board, once again due to RAM sourcing issues. With the Odroid H2 launch set for only a few weeks away, we're confident that the third time around the x86 merry-go-round will be the charm. Hard Kernel may need to work on its supply chain management, but it tends to make high-quality, well-supported boards backed up by a thriving community. The Odroid H2 will ship with Ubuntu 18.10, which was just released last week.
Another great board from Odroid.
Yeah.
Looking forward to this one.
I'm on the waiting list.
Are you? How did you get on the waiting list? Have your people call my people.
Wow.
And we were talking before the show about Hard Kernel's kind of distribution of the Odroid products. It can be a little bit, you get on a waiting list.
Right.
Because, well, you know more. Things take time to get here from South Korea.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Depends on who's rowing the boat.
Yeah.
No, they ship. They do scheduled shipping. They don't ship daily. I don't think. They'll do mass shippings.
So they wait until so much is sold. Is that kind of the idea?
Yeah.
And then
I don't think
that's kind of when it goes.
Some of them do that.
I doubt that they'll have to wait long before some of those are
No, I think
sold.
this one's going to be big.
I think
Yeah, and when a new product like this comes out, it's like all of the supply is gone in the first couple of days, and I think that's we even saw that with the Odroid Go. It was gone in the first little while, like you couldn't get one.
The XU4 did that as well.
Yeah, and then they restock and they remanufacture more, and so it'll be interesting to see how this one goes. But what has you excited about this one?
I like the fact that it's Intel. I mean, trying to get some of these single board computers with the OSs for them. You don't have sometimes there's just one guy rejigging the software.
No.
Yeah.
Never.
It's not a huge...
I like your shirt, by the way.
I like that. Sometimes it's just one guy.
It's true, and that's not just the operating system.
Right.
But
because you got to get all the drivers to work.
drivers and other supplementary software. Sometimes it doesn't compile well on ARM.
Right.
I have trouble with some programs that I just, because of dependencies and things like that, it's really hard to get them to compile on a Raspberry Pi or an XU4. So this opens that way up.
Way up. You load just about anything on this thing.
It's an x86 compatible computer, so and little tiny square. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be the best
Bill's gonna send us
unboxing
pictures.
ever. Big thanks to Roy W. Nash and our community of viewers for submitting stories to us this week. Thanks for watching the Category5.tv newsroom. Don't forget to like and subscribe for all your tech news with a slight Linux bias. And for more free content, be sure to check out our website. From the Category5.tv newsroom, I'm Sasha Rickman.
I'm Robbie.
And I'm Bill.
Just quickly, according to CoinGecko, here's what the crypto market is looking like at 1700 hours as of Wednesday, October 24th, when we recorded the show. Bitcoin lost $138.62 US at $6,526.06. Litecoin, $52.78, so it's down as well, a couple bucks almost. Ethereum went down to $204.20. Monero 106.07 US dollars. Stellite is we don't seem to have numbers on Stellite, unfortunately, this week. Turtle Coin is the one coin that actually got a little bit of a gain, but it's such a minute fraction. I mean, we're talking 0.06 ten-thousandths of a cent.
Growth is growth.
There
Yay,
you go.
Turtle
It's
Coin.
on its way up. It is now worth 0.38 ten-thousandths of a cent.
Nice.
Way to go, little guy.
Need a couple of billion of those.
Yeah, a couple billion.